disciples of Jesus look to the future. Listen to me, vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision is a waste of time, and vision with action can change the whole world. He will speak to you. The question is, are you listening?
And away we go.
Welcome to the Real Strength Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Brianna, and I'm joined by two amazing men. My brother, Jonathan Klingenberg, campus pastor at Fort Worth, and my father. What is your official title, Pastor Jeff?
Founding pastor, lead pastor.
Of the High Ridge family.
El Jefe
Pops,
Extravagance.
Big Dog, PJ for Pastor Jeff. Just call me when it's time to eat.
Perfect. Okay, so our podcast is to help you gain strength in your life and your spirit, soul, and body. That is the core behind the real strength. And we're going to just dive into the story of Jonathan. We haven't ever had you on the podcast, which I'm excited to have you.
Hang on. We have a big announcement to make for the podcast audience. Those of you that already know, that little bulge right there is because Brianna is expecting a little boy in August.
Yes. We are 5.5 months pregnant, so it's officially something I cannot suck in.
It's
present
wild.
on the podcast.
Yep.
But
Congratulations.
Yeah.
thank you.
Major.
We had a
You're going to be a
this
great
morning.
mother. Y'all are going to be a dynamic parent combo, no doubt in my mind.
Thanks, Dad. Appreciate that. Yeah, appointment this morning was great, so we're tracking right along, and everything looks healthy and normal. She said, my baby could not be more of the status quo normal. She's like, every marker is exactly the marker you aim for. And I was like,
Good. That's great.
Good.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, I interrupted
Rock and
because that
roll.
was important that I interrupted. But so get us back on track.
no, I'm glad you did. So it explains this. This is not holiday weight gain. This is a child. And if I get breathless or have been breathless, that's why. But yes, Jonathan, we haven't had you on our podcast.
Yeah.
Who
And
have
I think
we-
it's important to know that I believe that I'm the first son to be on the podcast. Is that right?
I think you are.
I think it officially puts
Biological son?
that I am the favorite of the three sons.
I think you are the first on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We've had Tara. We've had Mom. Have we had anybody else?
Brandon was on here before me, so actually,
sorry.
maybe I'm not.
Oh, that's right. But that was setting up so that they would go ahead and connect. And
The father of your child.
My husband, and then the father of my child. Yes,
important to know.
we did shoot a podcast the month before, or 2 months before he asked me out. So that is true. I wouldn't say the podcast is why he asked me out, but we did have fun with that podcast.
that was a good one.
Yeah, it was a great one.
I'll go back. If you haven't listened to it or watched, go back. It was a good one.
What'd you talk about? Marriage and family
Well,
and dating?
Brianna got embarrassed a bunch of times.
I did not. I did not. We laughed a lot, though. Okay, anyway, so yes, thank you, Jonathan. You know,
Yeah.
it's surprising. We have actually approached more family members to be on the podcast, but we actually get turned down more by family members to be on the podcast than we do other guests because
Because you don't pay me enough.
you're right. We really don't. We do not offer any finances for you to sit here and
I do
talk
this
to
for
us.
free.
I think all that food that you eat at our house is plenty of payment.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
Jeremy was like, no one needs to hear me talk about anything that long, which I disagree with. Addie's always had like 15 million jobs. Maybe she could.
She'd be great.
She would be.
She'd be
Well,
great.
everybody works 2 jobs.
Yeah, but she.
You work 2. Brandon works 2. Jonathan works 2. Addie works 2.
It's true.
Jeremy works 2. Bethany works 2.
Tara works 1.
Tara, Clay, Josiah, and Ricky. But more of you work 2 jobs than work 1.
It's very true. Oh man, it'd be so funny to have Josiah on this podcast. Could you imagine?
No, it wouldn't.
Let's
I'd be
just leave it up
sweating.
to the
I'd be sweating
viewers.
drops of blood.
Sweating drops of blood.
Who
That's
knows
right.
what that boy would say?
Let's let the viewers vote that Josiah gets on our next podcast.
I would say let's go for it.
I've
Awesome.
got Trump's ace. I get to vote.
Trump's ace.
Yeah, that's my card. Trumps everything.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about Jonathan's call to ministry.
Jonathan.
Talk about it. What do you want to talk about?
So you.
Are you a Christian?
I am.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I wondered.
Profession of faith, please. Credentials.
Well, that is concerning. If you've wondered, we should talk about that.
When did you stop wondering?
I haven't.
And I'm your campus pastor here at Fort Worth, so buckle up.
But that's a new thing. So I would love to start actually at the beginning.
Sure.
I have a lot of context of your life, having watched your life unfold before me. And, we did a lot of life together. We shared a car because you wrecked the car that would have allowed us to have two different cars.
That's right.
So we
How
had
many cars did he wreck?
We had more time
Just one.
together. I think that's really why you hit the
Yeah.
deer. You're like, if I hit this deer,
It was really the deer's fault. And in fact, I saved me and Josiah's life. Actually.
You wrecked the silver car,
No,
the green car.
The green one.
You wrecked the green car,
the green machine.
and you wrecked the white two-door twice.
No, that was just that was
mechanical and hindrances.
no. One of them was a sack full of sticks in the middle of the road, and there was nowhere for me to go. There was a car on my left and my right. So
Yeah, when you're on your phone driving,
I had
that's what
to-
happens.
No, not at that time. Not at that time.
Did you have a phone at that time?
I did. Yeah, but I wasn't at my phone. That's not safe driving, Dan. You
Okay,
should know
back
that.
on track.
Anyway, I've gotten a chance to sit very close to your life via the same car and also
Yeah.
similar life stages. We did sports together. We had a lot of friend groups that mixed well together.
Yeah.
So I know a lot about your life, but I think the general population does not know your story and misses a lot of context that goes into making you who you are. So feel free to start as young as you like. Wherever you want to take us back to and kind of fill us in on the becoming of Jonathan.
Do you want to? How far back do you want me to go?
Well, you've had some things in your childhood that really defined you, really marked you, challenged you, grew you. You can start there.
Yeah.
We'll start with when you met the Lord.
Yeah, that's a great one. So I met the Lord at a pretty young age, about 7 years old. And it's kind of funny because I remember that night, Mom and Dad were having a small group in the little kitchen area, in the kitchen nook area, fed into the living room. And we're sitting there playing, and I just kept doing stuff to you. I was grabbing cars and hitting you with them. And
Oh, to me, yes.
and
You're one of the reasons I had 3 unfavorable haircuts.
That's right, and this was one of them. I had one of those wind-up cars that you kind of put on the ground, and you just kind of and let it go, and it just shoots off. And I was like, I wonder what this would do on my sister's head. And so I wound it up and just sat it right there, and it just got all up in your hair. And I remember Mom, she had told me multiple times, she gave me that look when she looks at you, and she's like, you better straighten up. So I just kind of saw her, and I kind of wondered in my mind, she's got a small group, she's not going to do anything, so I've got free reign here. And I went ahead and I did that to your hair. And she got up, didn't lose eye contact with me, and I just started melting. I'm just like, this is it.
This is where
My
I die.
my life is over. And she took me to the back room, and we talked, and we talked through my decisions and why I was doing that. But then she presented the gospel, and in that moment, I had an understanding of what grace was, of who Jesus was, and what he came to do, and what a relationship with him looks like, and so I prayed that prayer with her that night, and still got a spanking. Okay, so for those of you wondering, I didn't do it to get out of the spanking. I still got it, and I deserved it.
Genuine faith conversion.
Yeah, my story is one of those where I look back. I don't have this large testimony of all these crazy things that happened, and then I met the Lord, and it changed. My story, my testimony is one of God's faithfulness, of His hand on my life. As I look back and I examine it, it's really the Lord, His protection, His calling, His purpose for me in allowing me to meet Him at a young age, and a lot of things happened even when I was young as well, that I got to develop through, and the Lord just he kept me safe. I still made stupid decisions, even with the hey Jonathan, don't do that. That's not going to be good. And I still made decisions that ran through that, and paid the price for that for sure. But really getting to sit here today to do what I get to do is a huge blessing and an honor, because it's one of those things that I don't deserve to do it except for the Lord. He's the one that established me to do so.
Well, we went from finding the Lord to all the way to now. So let's go back to
Great.
finding the Lord. One of the key things for me when you became a Christian is you decided that I needed to become a Christian. So you became Mr. Evangelist of the household and all friend groups and every playground. Really everywhere that you weren't sure if someone was going to go to heaven, you were evangelizing that space. One time, when you open a door, there's a space between the door and the wall that kind of narrows in. until it goes all against the wall. You had me trapped behind the door, and you were holding the door, and you had your hand on the wall, and you were like, you need to be a Christian. It's time for you to be a Christian. If you die, you're going to hell, and I don't want you to go to hell. And I was like, I don't want to go to hell. And I'm crying, and then Mom comes into your
And you're
room.
5 years old or 6 years old.
Yeah, I was 5 probably.
Yeah.
And Mom comes in, she's like, Jonathan, you cannot force your sister to decide to follow Christ. She will make her own decision in her own time.
Yeah. I believed in scared straight,
You really
just do it.
did. You had me block off the slide at playgrounds.
We did. Yeah, I remember that. So we back in that time, we were kind of semi-homeschooled. We were going to Grace Prep, and they do kind of that model where it's like Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Mm-hmm. And so Bethany and Jeremy were at school. I can't remember what day it was, but we were with Mom, me, Josiah, and you. And at that time, Mom was working with Josiah and told us to go play. And so we're at like Burger King or something like that. And Josiah's doing schoolwork, and we're up in the playground. And I told Brandon, I was like, we're getting these kids saved today. Like, it's happening today. And so we would
Whether they
go
like it or not.
and we would identify some child in the playground, and we would block off both exits, and I would scare him.
He says
with-
we identified the child. He identified the child. And he's like, go block that exit. I'm like, okay.
I was like, dude, do you want to go to hell? No, you need to know Jesus. And he's like, what does that mean?
Because
So-
he's like 7.
Yeah.
He should just be able to go down the slide.
Yeah, it was great. So yeah, we had a lot of converts, very high success rate, and also lots of parents being concerned that their child is crying.
Well, yeah. So at the park, when you're in between games, I think, and your brother's playing, and you're there, and you all go to the slide, the big giant jungle gym thing, and you talk kids into climbing up on the roof.
Oh, that's Benbrook Park. That was the robot.
The robot. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, climbing
Yeah.
up on the robot, and
Yeah.
then you wouldn't let them come down the slide or get down until they prayed to receive Christ.
That's right.
Yep.
And so then one of the kids came over, complained to their parents, I couldn't go down the slide because I wasn't a Christian.
Yeah. How did you feel as a parent, and how did you navigate that?
Yeah, were you proud or scared?
Yes, and yes.
Is that something that got corrected out of us? Like, I don't really remember. I know we stopped doing it.
You stopped doing it because parents complained. I think it just happened the one time. And so I told you all, we don't make anybody, we don't make it difficult, we become friends. So make friends with these kids, and then talk to them about the Lord. But don't make it to where they can't get down off the top of the roof of the playground until they receive Christ, because that's not the way we do it.
Yeah. Well, is that why you had so many friends? Because you had the most friends out of anyone in our family, probably.
No. Well, is that why I had so many friends? No, I just, I don't know. I just like having friends. So, yeah, I don't know how else to.
I remember you always had a posse. Like, every stage of life, you always had a group
The
of
boys.
people around you. And that never changed through every grade, through all of our schools, through college, even in work. You always had this, like,
The boys.
he just has that kind of gathering, we're all friends here kind of anointing.
Yeah, I don't want people to miss out.
Yeah, so that would be a good one for parents to at this moment. If you've got a child that always has a posse, likes to gather kids around, likes to be with a bunch of people, draws a bunch of people, could be that there's a spiritual anointing on their life for ministry, because that makes for great leadership in church whenever somebody is a people person and has the capacity to reach other people and gather other people.
Yeah. 100%. So you got saved at what age?
7,
7, and then
baptized shortly after.
Where I forgot where each kid was baptized. Where were you baptized?
the
I
grace
was
pool.
baptized in the Grace hot tub, and in fact, that was the first time that I saw you cry, and I remember that as a kid.
Oh.
Like the first memory I can remember of you crying was when you baptized me.
I was so thankful. So thankful.
Yeah.
And then you wondered about his salvation after that.
That's right.
Still do.
He still kept crying. He never stopped crying.
So from 7 until, let's go to like junior high, high school, working your faith out, you started experiencing some solidification in your faith, and also some challenges in your health. You walked through your own health development.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so
Challenges.
so yeah, that kind of from young childhood. I had what the doctors identified really as the slow growth gene. I can't remember the technical term, but I remember going to the doctor and then running a bunch of tests and taking blood and doing all kinds of stuff and trying to figure out why I wasn't growing like my friends were. And
Around what age did that happen?
those tests were done when I was in 7th grade, I believe, 6th or 7th grade.
12 or 13.
And
what I thought.
I was always much smaller than my friends. And that could be a reason why I had so many friends, because if I was friends with everybody, then they couldn't beat me up. Not that they would try. I'd probably rip all their ears off. But that type of that growth, that really determined and helped kind of shape who I was, because being so small growing up, I didn't like people telling me that I couldn't do something.
Correct.
And so I remember the doctor at a young age saying, I'm never going to grow over 5'8". I'm never going to get over 160 pounds. It's not good for me to play football or play basketball. I should stick with like chess or music or something like that. And I remember looking at this dude, and in my mind, I'm like, dude, forget you. Like, I refuse to accept that. And so that kind of, in fact, I turned it on its head, and I was like, man, I'm going to be that much better at basketball. And that drove me to want to practice to where I was ambidextrous with the ball. And yes, I'm not going to get any rebounds, but I'm going to steal the ball from you because I'm quicker than you. I was, itty bitty, but I weighed nothing and could accelerate. And so, so I did well in basketball because of that. And I think created a tenacity in sports, but it also carried over into life. And somebody would tell me I couldn't do something like a rule for good reason, I would want to test it and see why that rule is there. And does that rule actually apply to me? So it kind of had a double edge to that, but that kind of helped shape who I was and created a tenacity within me that just carried on. I mean, it carried on even through high school with sports, into career field, at a young age as well. I remember people saying, hey, you're going to be just like your dad and you're going to go into ministry. And again, here comes that wall of like, you're not going to tell me what to do. And so I just refused to accept that. That's what my dad does. I don't want to do that. I want to create my own path. I want to go follow whatever the Lord has for me to do and create my own way. And so for forever, that was my dream, was to go do something else than that. And I was going to go, I was going to go be a pilot. That was my dream, to
I remember that.
go be a pilot. And I got to fly some planes. In fact, on my 18th birthday, we almost died because the seaplane that we were flying had an engine malfunction. And anyway, that's a crazy story.
Had to have a water landing, right?
No, they were prepared for that, but we landed at Meacham. And
So that's a good story. That's a good story.
yeah.
So you express interest in piloting. I have a friend at the gym,
Doreen.
Doreen. Her husband was a pilot. Actually died in
Famous.
in an accident,
Yeah.
flying accident. And so she's like, she wanted to bless you and hook you up. So we go out there, and they've got the plane sitting right there in
The back of the house
Lake
in the water.
Eagle Mountain, right in the backyard, basically where their yard connects to the water. And so the pilot that was her friend came, and he was going to train you.
Yeah, he's the captain of the Blue Angels at the time.
Wow.
Wow.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And
Yeah,
so
super
then,
cool guy.
so then the pilot says to your mom, "Aren't you going to come?" Because I think was I driving the boat and you guys were surfing? You other kids were surfing?
No.
No, I don't remember what we were doing, but you're right, we had something.
Yeah, it was just me and Mom on the plane. I remember.
So he picked up your mom, and knocked her flip flops off on the dock, and then walked out and put her in the plane as well. So you go up and flying. So take it from there.
Yeah, so we're flying, and we're up for 30 minutes, an hour, and he's like, "You want to fly?" I was like, "Yeah." So he gives me the yoke, and I start flying around and doing different maneuvers, and he's kind of teaching me things here and there. And then all of a sudden, the right engine makes a funny noise, and the cabin's filling with smoke, and there's oil spewing out of the right engine. And I look back, and this is like a seaplane that looks like it came out of Indiana Jones. Like it looks awesome. And I look back down the plane a little bit, and I see Mom holding onto her seat like this, and she was talking to Doreen's daughter sitting right there, and they're just looking at all the smoke filling the cabin and kind of freaking out, like, "Are we gonna die?" And so I'm on the comms. I'm like, "Hey, there's smoke in the cabin. Is that good?" He's like, that's terrible. That's not good at all. And there's all this oil hitting the windshield. And he's like, that's not good either. And yeah, so we're going to tether this right engine, and we're going to do this and this. And he kind of walks me through it. And
all very calmly.
very, very calm.
Pilots
Yeah,
are.
very, very calm. And he calls into the radio and says a bunch of lingo that I had no idea what he said. And anyway, he's walking me through it, and he's like, we're going to do this to the engine so we can fly with one. And I was like, I didn't know you could do that. And so I learned all that stuff, and we landed, and I'm like cleaning the oil off the plane.
At Meacham.
At Meacham. And when we landed, the entire emergency team came out, like dudes in fire suits and fire this and fire that. And
So I think you flew from Eagle Mountain over Lake Worth, then over Marine Creek, and then crossed over the interstate over Loop 820
yeah.
to land at Meacham. So he was pretty smart to keep it.
Yep. He told me he was going to go over bodies of water. If we have to crash land, he's going to land in some water. And at least that's what I remember him saying. And so we landed, and this whole rescue thing and everything was fine, and there was no fire to put out, but they got the engine shut down and taxied it over. And I'm cleaning the oil off, and mechanics are looking at it like, yeah, y'all should have died. And we're like, oh, cool. It's like, yeah, it threw a rod or something, and normally that comes flying out and the engine blows up or whatever the case was.
Wow.
And so he's like, you guys are very lucky. And the Blue Angel pilot, he looked at me, he's like, I normally fly tens of thousands of hours with nothing happening, and you started your career with something major, so you should be good for many years. And I remember laughing at that. But yeah.
Maybe it's a sign you shouldn't be a pilot.
Well, turns out I am not a pilot to this day, so there goes that. But yeah, wanted to be a pilot, and that didn't happen. I was planning to go out to LeTourneau University to study, and I had a small scholarship to do that. I wanted to go play basketball out there as well. And my junior year in high school, I had a lateral meniscus displacement.
Correct.
And my knee just basically blew up.
Translate means you blew one side of your knee all the way over to the other side.
Well,
yeah, the meniscus.
That
yeah.
started with your back here tenacity and you can do whatever you want mentality. You still did football, even though you had the slow growth thing that you were battling.
Yep.
And I do want to talk about that for a second because, number one, I think you have the record for like junior high longest yard touchdown, because you went under someone's legs and just kept running.
No, no, that's funny. No, I.
What did you have? What happened? I remember you were running like this.
Yeah, I was.
You came out from underneath a pile.
Yeah, I was a freshman, and my coach put me on the D line because the team we were playing was huge. They were massive individuals, and he's like, little Clingy, what I want you to do is as soon as the ball is snapped, I want you to run under the center's legs and grab the quarterback. And I said, totally. And so I was like, that's a great idea. And if you could imagine, I'm this itty little bitty dude and going up against grown men, basically.
Yeah, because how tall were you? You stayed at one height for how long?
I was about 5'1" for most
All
of high school
until your injury. Yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of growing during the injury.
Yeah,
but
we'll be able to get that.
And so he puts me in, and Mom tells a story of she's like talking to friends in the stands, and they said, oh my goodness, Jonathan is on defense. She's like, what? And she looks out, and like the size difference. The pads are too big, the helmet's too big, and I'm just like trotting out there. And
it's like what I would picture David in Saul's armor kind of looked like.
Yeah.
Like just didn't quite fit.
Yeah. And so we line up, and the center looks at me and just kind of laughs, and I just kind of shrugged at him. And they get down to do the snap, and he just underestimated it. As soon as the ball was snapped, I just accelerated and just bear crawled between his legs, and I grabbed the ankle of the quarterback, and he fell down, and I got a sack. So it didn't work the second time. Let's just say that. But it worked that one time. And anyway, that kind of translated through football. At one point, I was in a running back position. This is how I hurt my leg.
Right.
I was at a running back position. I had a blocking assignment. And this linebacker comes barreling through the hole that I'm supposed to block. And I always found it comical that my coach would call a blocking play knowing that I'm supposed to get this block. It's like, do you want the quarterback to get sacked? Because the dude could just pick me up one-handed and tackle the quarterback.
And run with you.
And so I knew that was going to happen, and I had been studying cut blocks. Knowing and looking at other guys play that were smaller, I feigned high and I dove at his legs and completely cut him out. But when I did that, he landed on top of me. My knee bent out funny.
Yeah.
And I had two tears in my meniscus. And I didn't know what that was, except I couldn't stand up straight. And so I would kick my leg. And what would happen is my leg was trapped in that tear. And when I kicked it, it would free it, but it would make it tear even more.
Yeah.
And so I played multiple games after that. And just kind of, if my knee bent past 90 degrees, it would catch in the tear. It would hurt. I'd kick it, and it would come out, and I could run.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're back on kickoff receiving to receive the kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
And you're back there kicking your leg, and your mom says, "What's he doing, Jeff? What's he doing?" Said he's trying to kick that catch thing that he's got in his knee, trying to kick it out of the way so he can run.
Yeah.
And you would keep playing. But what really, and then in that story, and I don't want to get too far down your story to the next part, but for you as a parent, y'all were being pressured several different moments to do something about Jonathan and his position in life, like intervention with hormone and different things like that. Y'all ultimately decided not to. But how did you hear the Lord for your son? Watching him go through what he was going through, watching him fight through things and ultimately becoming the man he is today, which we're going to keep discovering that. But how did you hear God in those moments when it's so easy to trust professionals' opinions and the ideas of others? How did you know to hold back and trust the Lord instead for this specific instance? Because I know parents are going to face, I know I'm going to face things I'll have to decide for our kid. And that's really when I hear your story, I think about, man, to be a parent in that situation, loving your child so much and wanting the most for them. How did you sit with that?
Well, I had enough experiences in life with needing to hear the Lord and knowing how the Lord speaks to me. So by this point, I'd already been directed by multiple dreams. Every step of my life, just the path, the zigzag of the path, usually had a dream connected to it. And so I knew that if God was going to speak to me something about Jonathan's health, that he would let me know. Because I don't take a position of, God, if you speak, I'm going to disobey. God, if you speak, I'm going to obey. And so I knew that he was going to let me know if there was something that needed to be done. Plus, I had the experience of my brother. So the slow growth gene runs in the family. So my mom's dad had it. And his name was John, and they nicknamed him Little Johnny, and he didn't come out of it. So he ended up at about 5'5", 5'6", 125 pounds.
Wow.
Maybe 5'4", 5'5". I think he was an inch taller than Grandma, so maybe 5'4". And so he just stayed small. But then none of his daughters got it, which would be my mom and her 3 sisters. But then my brother got it. So my little brother graduated from high school. He was 4 feet 10 inches tall, and he wrestled 98, which is the lowest weight class, all 4 years of high school, and he never weighed it ever. Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, he never weighed the weight limit for that weight class. And then when he got in college, he started growing. So he's, I don't know what he is now, 5'8" or 5'9", 175. So he grew. So I kind of had in the back of my head, and I prayed, Lord, could you let it be, at worst, could you let it be like it was with Eric, my brother? And so I just had a peace. Me and your mom prayed and just had a peace that we didn't want to go with the hormone therapy to try to jolt his body into growing, and just trusted that it would work out. And in one of the tests, if I remember right, one of the tests, they took marrow out of your knee, I think.
Something.
And it showed the potential for the growth hormone to kick in. There was something that we had hope in the natural that I took before the Lord in prayer and said, Lord, is this you? Is this hope that we just, leave it alone and it would be okay? So history with it not working for my grandpa, but worked for my brother. And then knowing that there was a hope element, and then just praying and not having any dreams, any direction. I wasn't going to make something happen without the Lord speaking to it and letting me know. Yeah. And I knew he would let me know because I'd learned how to listen to him by then. And so it was hard in that sense, but I was confident that it was going to work out, and it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember leaving that doctor's appointment where he said I was never going to do this and never do that. And I went home, and I was in the shower, and I cried. And I was like, I refuse to accept that. And so I got a tape measure, and I measured up where he said my height was going to be, and I put 2 inches above it. And I scratched it out in the grout in the shower. So every time I took a shower, I'd look at that thing, and I would measure it and get on my tippy toes, and I I was just thinking, I'm going to beat that. I'm going to beat that. So every time I took a shower, I don't think any of you guys knew that I'd scratched it out on the grout.
Remember me telling you, though, I said, Jonathan, that's just his opinion. Mm-hmm. The Lord has the final say.
Yeah.
I said something like that to you.
Oh, sure. Totally. And yeah, until I remember the day that I got in the shower and I went to go find it, and it was right here, that mark. And I was like, screw you, doc.
Okay, so we'll get to that. So you injure your knee, picking back up on your story, you injure your knee.
Injured my knee, played football, decided I'd rather get it healed so I could play basketball because I wanted to go to the Turno.
Because you felt like your potential for college lied in basketball more than any other sport.
Yep. And so I wanted to go that route, and so I took a break. I tried to play football. We went and got scans done. The doctor told me to rest for 3 or 4 weeks.
You had two abrasions.
And he's like, you'll be fine. And so I rested and went to go play in one of the playoff games that we had, and something happened to tackle, and this one hurt a lot more than the others. And I told coach, I was like, hey, I can't. Basketball is like 3 or 4 weeks away. I can't miss that. And so I sat out the rest of the season, and hoping that'd be fine. So got into basketball, and this is where I really heard it. We were having a scrimmage.
This is junior year still, right?
Junior year, we were having a scrimmage, and junior year was going to be the best year for our team. Mm-hmm. We had 2 seniors that were really good. We had myself and a couple of guys in my grade, and we had a few guys below me that were really good shooters. Mm-hmm. And so that year would have been the best all-around team that school would have had in a while. And so we were super excited to just do amazing things. And so the scrimmage a couple of weeks before the season actually started, one of the guys who's bringing the ball down the court, I'm on defense. He makes a move, and I step and reach around to hit the ball to my defensive player on the other side, and we'll run down the court. And I plant and turn, and as soon as I do that, my knee just gives way, and I just hit the ground. Yeah. And I remember thinking, oh man, this hurt. It hurt so bad. And I was like, this is crazy, but it was the same as all the others, really, just hurt a little bit more. And so I stood up, and as I went to kick it, the worst pain that I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
And I fell right back to the ground, and my knee started throbbing. It started swelling.
I was there this day, right?
I think you were there
this the
off
day
to
you
the
went
side
off to
because
the-
I think
yeah.
you called mom and dad. But I pulled myself off to the court, and like I'm not really crying, but tears are coming down to my face.
Yeah.
Just how much it hurt for that second. I was like, this is crazy. I couldn't straighten my leg. It was pretty much stuck in one position.
Not crying, but tears are coming out of your face. So what?
I wasn't like,
That
I was like,
pain leaving
Yeah,
his body
yeah,
in the form
yeah.
of water out
they're
of his
manly
eyes.
tears. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I was there because you asked me to grab your leg, and you're like, you're like laying there, and you're gripping the bench, like just grab my foot, Bree, just pop it straight, and you're gripping. Do you remember this at all?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not popping anything. I'm not touching that because it was like swollen and stiff.
Yeah.
And then I called mom and dad.
Yeah, it was like turning colors.
It was turning colors.
But anyway, went to the ER. We saw.
So I went through a connection at the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gym is really a theme in this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about who you
continue.
know, who you work out with.
Yeah.
So
really.
so I can't remember if it's through the owner of the gym or through one of the members, but there was a connection to a really good knee surgeon who did the Mavericks or the Rangers or the Stars, Rangers and Stars, I think. He was orthopedic for them, and sure enough, this friend at the gym or the owner of the gym, I can't remember, made the connection, and we got right in. And they did the MRI, and he couldn't even see your lateral meniscus on the outside of your knee. Couldn't even see it.
Yeah.
And so then he said, I need to get in and take a look. I can't even see it. It doesn't show up. And so we went back like a week later, and you were the 5th surgery of the day, I think. He would load up and do Monday and Wednesday. I think he would load up and do a bunch. Then he'd do hospital visits on Tuesday and Thursday. And then he'd do in-office consultations on Friday, I think was his schedule. So, yeah, you were one of the later ones that day, so he got you in. And he told us before he, came out and talked to us before he went back and did it and said, if I'm back in 15 or 20 minutes, it's good news and bad news. 20 minutes, half an hour. If I'm back 20 minutes, half an hour, it's good news and bad news. The good news is that he doesn't have to be sedated for a long time, doesn't have to be under. The bad news is the meniscus is shot, and I just ended up removing it. Now, if I'm back here for a long, long time, that can be bad news as well, and I'll be sure to have one of the nurses get on the. I'll call and they'll come out and let you know, or they'll call on that phone and they can tell you progress. So anyway, takes you back at like 3:00, I think, and at 4:30, still nothing. So of course your mom is panicking. So finally, about 10 to 5, I think it was an hour and 50 minutes. He comes out and says, "Well, that was a humdinger," or something like that. I said, no word, no anything. He said, I couldn't stop. I couldn't. Here's what happened. I got in there and looked. The lateral meniscus was flipped all the way over on the medial side, but the vein,
one vein,
the vein that feeds it was still connected.
Mm-hmm.
And so he thought, I can save this meniscus, because, without the meniscus, you end up with arthritis, you end up with knee trouble. A lot of times that leads to a knee replacement. And so he said, I found it, and I was so busy wanting to save this young man's knee, I didn't even think about it, and time got away. So he put you in traction, pulled your knee apart, flipped the meniscus back over, and then fastened it, stitched it all the way around, and was meticulous in doing it all the way around the outside. And then just watched to be sure the blood was feeding the healing, because, the healing is in the blood.
Yep.
And then came out. So he just got so caught up in wanting to try to bless you and help you that he didn't let us know. And so we're just, oh, Lord help us, because all that time when you're waiting, that can be so traumatic. When you're just waiting.
Yeah.
And then the hardest part, you're talking about me crying, was when you came out and you were hoping that it was just an abrasion and that he could just kind of sand off, not the right term, but just sand off the abrasion, and that you could be back in basketball a month later.
Yeah.
And so you came to pretty quick. You process drugs like your mom really fast. If they don't give you enough, then you're going to feel the pain. And so you were coming awake pretty quick, and you were in the wheelchair, and you looked up at me and said, "Dad, did he fix it?" I said, "He did." "So I can play basketball?" I said, "No, son, I'm sorry. You're not going to be able to play basketball." "Why?" "Because it was a major surgery. He had to put you in traction. He had to bring it wasn't just an abrasion. It was completely detached." And you just started crying because you wanted to play basketball so bad.
Yeah.
And that was tough. But then you grew.
Well,
I grew a lot.
That was the year you grew.
I grew a lot during that time.
Like 8 or 10 inches.
a lot. I remember you went into that surgery. I saw you that day you played basketball and tried to make you pop your knee out, and I didn't want to. Then you're on crutches, your wheelchair, all the things where you weren't standing up fully.
Long time.
And I remember it was 9 months, right? You weren't standing up fully.
Mm-hmm.
For like
7 or 9 months, yeah.
And about that time, whenever it was, where you stood up all the way, you stood up like 4 inches taller. Mm-hmm. So I felt like I was looking at a whole different brother. By the time your knee had healed, it was like your whole body healed too and just grew.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I grew a lot during that time, and coming back to basketball was interesting because being on crutches for so long, my triceps got big, and I could shoot threes like they were free throws. So my game changed. I was still quick, but not as quick, and I had to get used to being taller.
You had to get used to dribbling another 10 inches in height.
Yeah, another
on your dribble,
another good bit, and
because you didn't stop growing, you had just grown like 4 or 5 inches, and then you kept growing during that season. By the time you finished, you started junior year at whatever you were, 5'1", 5'2",
5'3" maybe,
and you finished junior year at like 5'10", 5'11".
No, he's just 5'9" now.
And then you graduated college at like 6'1".
Yeah.
So that's a lot of growth happening while you're in your sport.
6'1" with cowboy boots on.
Yeah, it still counts.
Is that really with cowboy boots on?
Probably. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe a little bit taller actually.
Yeah, I feel like you're taller with those on.
You better put a mark in your shower and start looking at it again.
But you transformed, and I also feel like you transformed as a person too. So talk to me about like what the Lord was doing in your life and how your faith was changing during that time.
So during that time, my faith, challenged with I had this plan for my life, and it felt like the Lord just completely removed that. And it was through that season that I realized to hold my plans for my life with an open hand. I do believe that you should have a vision for where you're going and who you are to become, but hold it with a hand like this, so that the Lord can move and do what he needs to do. Because mine was like this, and what he had to do was he had to break it open to get to it.
What's your first like this is an open hand.
Yeah.
And your second like this is a closed hand. So the Lord showed you to hold your desires for your life with an open hand.
That's right.
Not with a closed hand.
That's right.
Yeah.
In some ways, do you feel like everybody goes through that moment, whether it's early in life or late in life, where at some point the Lord recognizes the grip you have for you is too tight for me to move, and he has to do some breaking? How would you encourage somebody who's going through that?
Well, every testimony has a test. Every destiny has some struggles. Every path has some rocks. How many more analogies you want me to use?
No, it's
Just
plenty.
stay with those. One more. Every highway has potholes. Every river has rapids.
Okay.
I'll stop there. So, point being, who the Lord calls, he tests. Who the Lord appoints, who he gifts, he tests. He refines.
Yeah.
There are challenges. One of the ways that we learn how to process life is to grab hold of the Lord through challenges, through difficulties, and we've had plenty. Klingenbergs have.
Yeah, we have.
But God's still good, doesn't change anything. And I would think whatever involvement the enemy has in it, that he would give up, because every time the test comes, we call out to the Lord, we draw closer to the Lord, we gain more strength, we gain more faith, and we end up better on the other side of the test. So you have to predetermine. So back to spirit, soul, body, this would be one I would encourage people to do. Let the Spirit, the indwelling Spirit, lead the way in your life, which is the Holy Spirit brought your spirit back to life. Then when situations come, temptations come, unexpected, difficulties hit your life just out of the clear blue. It can happen in a second, auto accident or unexpected and untimely death, etc. Those things hit. You predetermine before you're in the midst of the difficulty, the storm, the trouble, the pain, the injury, the accident. You predetermine ahead of time, no matter what happens, I'm trusting the Lord. So I had many things I had to deal with in life, and one time, just from the psalmist, I just picked up, I don't remember which psalmist it was. Let's just say it was David. He came to the place where, though he slay me, yet will I trust him.
Yeah.
In other words, if God's going to allow for the plan of my life to end up in death, I'm going to trust him anyway. Because I think later on, he says, where else can I go to find the words of life?
Yeah.
Where else can I go to find truth? There's nowhere else I can go but to you.
Yeah.
So you have to predetermine, you make a choice in your spirit that when the difficulty hits your soul, your mind, will, and emotions, that your will wins that battle.
Yeah.
And your will wins the battle going toward the things of the Spirit,
right.
not toward the things of the flesh or the devil, the evil one.
Yep.
And so you have to, regardless of the thought, regardless of the emotion, you still have to hold on to, no, I'm holding on to the Lord. No, I'm trusting the Lord. This is temporary. This isn't going to last. The Lord's working in this. I'm not going to die from this. Even if I do die from this, I get to be with the Lord forever.
Yeah.
And so you just predetermine, regardless of what it is, you're going to trust him. And I think in some way or another, you kids had some of that in you, and not understanding, not knowing, but you didn't rebel. You didn't run away from God. You didn't, become party hardy, and I didn't get to be a pro basketball player, so forget you, God. And I just thumb my nose at God. For those that are watching, listening, and not watching, you just have to trust him as you walk through it.
Yeah.
And I think you had some of that in you during that time, even though you didn't really know you had it in you yet.
Yeah.
How would
Absolutely.
you encourage somebody who's going through that breaking for maybe the first, second, or third time, have to experience that, grab a hold of it too tightly, and the Lord has to loosen that grip?
Yeah, I mean, that's happened in a couple of different seasons. I think the Lord allows us to repeat seasons and tough trials if we haven't learned that lesson. And by God's grace, thank you, because I don't want to go to the next place that he's calling me to without learning what I need to know in that previous season. And so my encouragement would be to stand strong and trust that He does have a good plan for your life, a plan to prosper you and not to harm you.
And you mean strong in your faith, not strong in your position.
Right. Continue to draw close to Him, because in that time it's easy to mope on the couch, because I literally couldn't move without tearing a stitch or something, and I didn't want to do that. And so I'm just chilling on the couch. I'd rather go be outside. I'd rather go do these things. And I had to say goodbye to, again, that was going to be the best basketball season that we were going to have. And we were going to set all kinds of records, and we were going to do, I had to say goodbye to that. I had to say goodbye to any possibility of going to play at Laterno. They're not going to want me anymore. And which means I had to say goodbye to being a pilot, and I had to say goodbye. There was a cascade effect of all of these things that I could have just moped about. And, there were times where I was frustrated and asked God why. But in that season, I learned, instead of asking God why, ask what? God, what are you wanting to teach me and show me? And so it helped open my eyes to seeing the Lord moving in that area. And what I didn't know, looking back now, the Lord was protecting me from going down a path that would have kept me from, number one, stepping into ministry, number two, meeting my wife, having my kids. The life that I have now is because of this. Because I stayed back. I didn't go to Laterno. I got my associate's degree at TCC. I stayed local. And during that time, I was brought on part-time staff to do youth worship. And that's where I fell in love with working in the ministry and investing in the next generation. Sam, being one of those incredible guys that was on the worship team at the time. And I still remember doing the Sunday trainings where we would meet in that room, and we would go over like worship principles and dynamics and things like that. And
Sam is also the guy behind the camera.
Yes,
Yeah, I was going to say, for those that are listening, not watching, Sam is that awesome dude right back there on the other side of the
A
cameras.
man of many talents.
many talents, man.
Goodness.
Absolutely.
Music, speaking,
Yep.
Entertaining.
devices.
Podcasts.
Yeah.
But it was actually during your injury you even learned how to play guitar.
I had learned to play before that, actually, but I got better.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a lot of time to play.
I did. That and video games. and so there were a lot of things that the Lord did in that season that I didn't understand, but it was getting me ready for the next stuff that was coming. I fell in love with ministry, with helping people. I finally accepted the fact that ministry is going to be a part of my life, and I grew to love it. And that's when I heard from the Lord that I was going to go off to Australia and study theology, and said yes to that, and went and studied, was in Australia for 3.5 years, and came back. And there's even more to that story as well. It's funny because the Lord finally gets my attention, and I fall in love with ministry, and I come home, and I'm gung-ho, ready to go full-time staff, and nothing is available. And so I just serve wherever I could with stage design or whatever. We mostly just played ping pong at 2 a.m, setting up stage design.
You and the volunteers.
Me and Mike Reeves and all the boys, Jeff and all of them, and realized that, okay, well, maybe ministry's not it, and I've got to build a career. And so I started working in insurance and building a business through that. I met Reed. We started working together, and Reed introduced me to Addie, and Addie and I fell in love, and moved on from there to another job that provided very well financially for us. And I thought, you know what, God, maybe you're leading me to be a kingdom builder now, where I could still serve on the worship team and serve in ministries. But God, you're gonna bless my business, because that's what He was doing, and I'm gonna be able to make all this money, and I'll make generational wealth, and be the first Klingenberg to make it big.
To not be poor.
And
We've all had that dream, and we've all given up.
I was like, God, I receive this blessing. Amen.
This is my burden to carry. For our
Yeah.
family.
And lo and behold, in this career path, it just nothing. It never satisfied, and it didn't matter how good sales were or whatever the case may be. There has to be more to life than this. And I was just talking with Addie and what's our future and what's going to happen, and I felt ministry was still on the table. I didn't know how or what that looked like, and then one day I got an offer letter to come into the youth ministry and become a youth pastor, and I took it to Addie, and it was well below what I was making at the time. And Addie looked at it and just laughed and said, no. Like, what are you talking about? The answer is no. Just tell them no. And I said, I know. And we tried to negotiate, and the funds aren't there. And so I prayed about it, and I thought, Lord, this is you. And if this is you, I've got peace about it. But I'm not going to sell this to my wife. You're going to have to do it. So God, if this is you, then I'm praying that you speak to her and you tell her. Because I know saying yes to ministry meant saying no to a whole bunch of other stuff.
Right, yeah.
And for her, I didn't want her going into it because I made her, because then I would be at fault knowing what tests would be coming in the future.
Yeah.
And so I just prayed, God, if this is you, you would speak to her. And so about 2 or 3 days later, I was sitting there having my devotional and drinking my coffee, and she comes up to me and she's crying, and she's like, the Lord just told me to say yes. And I said, thank you, Lord.
So much easier when God does it, right?
So much easier. And so we said yes, and I left that job. It worked out perfectly because Jewel, we found out we were pregnant with Jewel, and after she arrived, I used all of my paternity leave at that company and came back. And in that week, I let them know the transition, and they were like, hey, that's awesome. Get your stuff and do what you're going to do.
And get out of here.
Get out of here. And great people. Love them. They were such a blessing. And I look back at that season and wish I could have done more. But it was a blessing in its time. But yeah, God was faithful through that. And so even stepping into ministry and all the challenges that came with that, it really brought Addie and I closer together, because we learned to hear the Lord for ourselves and have that confirmation, so we could step into it and knowing that we were going to weather some financial stuff, but we never lacked for anything.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't get to go on vacation as much as we wanted to, and we couldn't buy the cars, and we couldn't buy this, and couldn't buy all these.
It took a while. You had to wait to get a house.
Waited a long time to buy a house, just because we used the savings that I had made from the previous job to live. And but God was faithful, always provided, always made a way. And here I sit today as a byproduct of God's faithfulness on my life because of it. So
yeah. So you learned to hear God. I know we went far back, but it kind of sets up and really gives a lot of context to how you learned to hear God, from hearing his call to salvation in life, to hearing his call through passion and drive, to hearing his call through surrender and brokenness, to hearing his call into ministry. I like how you phrase that, finally surrendered to.
yeah,
Finally gave up and surrendered to that.
Finally.
I actually am called to this.
yeah.
Well, there are some biblical examples of that too.
Yeah, there is. There really is.
I'll get on this boat. I'll go as far away from here as I can.
Yeah.
And then the boat goes in the water, and the person goes into a fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I found that story to be so interesting. Not to go on a huge tangent,
Sure.
but with Jonah. So the Lord tasked him with this, knowing, I think, that he was going to choose this. But the very reason that he chose that, I mean, there's so many metaphorical and symbolical things of being in the fish, being in Sheol for 3 days and 3 nights, and coming out the way that he did. But the miraculous thing is that city of Nineveh, the deity that they worshipped, was
I saw
a
this.
depiction of a man coming out of a fish. And so I can just see it happening, where their top deity that they worship, these dudes are on the beach, and here comes this fish, and Jonah comes out as all the depictions, but he comes out as the prophet declaring fealty to Yahweh.
Yeah.
And there was no doubt in their mind that, like, this is a messenger from that God saying we need to worship the one true God.
Yeah.
And so it wouldn't have worked any other way.
Yeah.
I found that to be fascinating. I mean, again, that's a story from my life. This wouldn't worked of any other way. I would have made a different decision, would have run another way. If I hadn't gone this path, I wouldn't have met my wife, had my beautiful kids. And, I thank God for his faithfulness in that.
How would you bring understanding to someone learning to hear God as a single person? How would you help them know what it looks like, how you heard from the Lord? We've heard a lot about your journey with that, Dad, with dreams and how the Lord's spoken to you over the years. But Jonathan, can you speak to how the Lord spoke to you as a single man? And I'm going to ask you about how he speaks to y'all as a couple.
Yeah, that's really good. I would say I didn't really do the single life that well. so I can tell you how to not do it.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, how to not do it. Give examples. And well, in hearing the Lord, he would speak to me through peace and through rhema. That's how I knew I was going to go to school in Australia. Is one morning I had my devotional, and something I'd read 100 times just jumped off the page and basically said, I will provide the way. And I thought, okay, cool. So I'll make that decision and go that way. And he provided the way. But being good in the single season, as I reflect on my single season, what I counsel and what I tell younger people is to do that season a lot differently than I had. And what do I mean by that? Knowing that the woman or the spouse or the partner that you're looking for, you have to display those attributes as a single person, right? So if you want them to love the Lord and pursue the Lord, you've got to be that kind of person. Mm-hmm. You can't expect to live one life and capture something at a different level. Mm-hmm. I've had many friends where they would want to go party, they want to go do these things, but they're wanting to settle down and find that Christian woman. I'm like, bro, you're not going to find them in the bar, right? Now, has that happened before? Yes. You're not going to find them in the lifestyle that you're living because those ladies aren't looking to settle down. You're going to find them in that space. And so the one that you hear all the time is run your race, and at the right moment, look and see if there's somebody running that race next to you, and maybe the Lord will bring you together. But what I tell a lot of young men is I wish I would have had this perspective when I was single. Knowing the woman that the Lord had for me to marry, I wish I didn't have memories of any other woman, if that makes sense. I wish I didn't have any of those thoughts that the enemy can use to attack me in my marriage now from previous relationships. All the baggage, all of the hurt, all of the terrible miscommunication things that I learned in those previous relationships carried on into my marriage, and I didn't realize that. And so my counsel for young men is get a vision of who you feel like God is calling you to be in 10 years, and make decisions today that will line up with who that person is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's good.
And with or without a spouse.
With or without a spouse, yeah. Because I mean that longing for intimacy is deep rooted in us, which is ultimately fulfilled through a relationship with the Lord. But a lot of guys and a lot of young people are thinking, I need to fill it with the next person. They're going to help fulfill me, but that's never the case, and they're never meant to carry that. Yeah. And so even if you find somebody that fits you really well, you're going to dump all of these unmet expectations on top of them, and they're going to let you down because they're broken. And I had done that in multiple relationships before. And so that's my counsel for those in the single life, is have that vision and make decisions today that line up with who that person is, and be the person that the spouse that you want would be attracted to, that would look for.
What would have made you more capable to hear God in those seasons?
Cut out the foolishness and the sin.
Yeah, that's plain and simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it that goes back to a longer story, but there were things that I was doing in my life, lots of hidden sin that a lot of people didn't know, that I kept hidden, and I think allowing that in your life will silence God's voice in your life, and it'll keep things very hazy, because sin makes you stupid, and being caught up in habitual sin, justifying it and being okay with it, silence the Holy Spirit within you. And although He's speaking all the time, I found it difficult, and then I would get frustrated. You're not speaking to me, but it's because I just did this last night, and I hadn't repented from this. And so that's where in that season I would say I didn't do singleness very well, and I made a lot of mistakes. But God is gracious and He's faithful, and man, He can turn the worst situations around for things that glorify Him. Yeah. And so my counsel, my experience is I can show you how not to do it. And you can choose to listen to it or not, but if you go down this path that I did, you're going to be met with pain, with heartache. The gray hair that I do have on my head, which is growing in number, a lot of that came from those seasons in my life that I just made really poor decisions, and literally stole the joy and the life from me in those times, and caused heartache for other people in my life as well. So,
yeah, like your parents.
Yep.
Working through heartache. As you're watching him struggle to hear from God as a single man, and you're hearing from God for him, how did you carry those two tensions of hearing God for your son and also not being able to intervene or take control or make decisions for him? How did you handle that?
Well, I didn't try to hear God for him. I tried to hear the Lord with him when he invited me into that.
What does that look like?
Well, so the most control and time you have with a child is the day they're born. Starting the second day of their life, the distance away from you has started. So if you try to hold on to a child tight, you end up doing yourself wrong and them wrong. You have to hold them. Your mom's really good about teaching on this, about training and teaching. And so we just had a recognition from the Lord and in our counsel with each other that we needed to flip the script on some of the ways we saw some of our peers doing their almost adult children, treating them like children, and realize we're not going to do that. I can't see that being blessed in the Word. I mean, Mary was selected to be the mother of God when she was 15, 14, 15. So the mother of Jesus. And so stuff like that the Lord would use to tell me, okay, it moves from controlling to counseling. It moves from training to teaching. It moves from directive and oversight to friendship and conversation. And so we just moved to that point because I didn't want my children to be 30 years old and be dependent on me at 60 years old to hear the Lord for them.
Yeah.
And so we just made that determination that that we had done what we knew to do, and we did it to the best that we could with you all at every phase that we had, and we just had to at some point trust the Lord. So what I knew and didn't know, I still took to the Lord. I thought I knew there was sin, but I didn't know for sure, so I still take it to the Lord, as though there could be sin in that child's life. But here, Lord, you're the one that knows everything perfectly, and you're the one that can deal with it the best. So you just have to recognize this is a whole nother podcast, and we'd need to have your mom in on this one, but you start releasing. You start releasing the second day. Every step is a step away. And you can't, the more you try to control and keep them close, the worse it's going to be for both of you.
So when he would invite you in, that would activate you in what way?
Then I would have permission. I have an invitation out of friendship, not out of obligation, not out of father-son, not out of pastor, youth pastor, whatever the case may be. I don't remember all the timelines, but not out of anything official, just relationally. If he and when, not if, but when he would let me in, I would try to go in and be Christ-like in the conversations and helping him hear the Lord to make those decisions, etc. I tried to do that with all of you. Now, primarily, you and your sister went to your mom, and the boys primarily came to me. Although your mom, with a degree in counseling, was so good, you all have had much better and longer interactions with her. I was a lot of times, busy building the church and building the kingdom. I wasn't able to do as much with you all as I would have liked to have done because of how much work was being done building the church. But tried to do a great job with you. I think the proof's in the pudding. I think we did pretty good with you all.
Yeah, I agree.
And anyway, so how does it look? You just pray. So if you're the parent of a teenager and you think they're in trouble, you can ask questions, but if you ask a question with an attitude, they're going to hear the attitude louder than they're going to hear the question, and then they're going to throw up a roadblock.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to get into that space, you get into it by loving and showing kindness and how can I pray for you, not how can I pray for you. Like, I know you're in sin. I know there's something going on. Now you tell me, I'm your mother. I'm your father. You tell me, I'm going to pray, and we're going to pray this thing away. Well, that's almost like a threat, and it doesn't work.
Right.
And so one of the things we hope to do and try to hope to help, that's why your mom is so active in teaching what has been titled for 30 years now, Wisdom for Moms, is she teaches from her own experience from the scriptures on how to help moms operate with wisdom and not with fear in raising kids and seeing every day they're moving further away. They're becoming their own person. And just helping them navigate all that and how to take advantage of the opportunities when they show up.
Yeah. That's very insightful. So hearing God changes stage to stage with kids, and it changes phase to phase in your life when you go from single to married. I know you've talked about how you and Mom have prayed and heard the Lord together. Jonathan, as you're growing in your relationship with Addie and in a place where you're hearing God as a pastor of a campus, what would you say has changed about how you hear God now that you are married and you're in this place of leadership?
How I hear God now, it's only become more clear as I've stayed in that place of wanting to stay connected to Him. I don't want anything to get in between me and Him and hearing His voice and that clarity that comes with it. And really, I had that big revelation, when I got married, and especially when I had kids, is I don't want to miss what the Lord is doing and what the Lord is saying, and an opportunity to speak into, help encourage my wife and build her up, and then especially my kids, and then even now the church and my friend groups and the people around my life. I don't want to miss, because the Lord is speaking all the time. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to allow anything in my life that could create a space where I miss something that He wants for me to encourage somebody else with.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And being the head of the household, like I want to make sure that I'm in a solid place with the Lord, that my relationship with Him, that nothing comes between that, because I want to stand strong in a place of protection, of covering, and then especially of insight and wisdom for those that the Lord has entrusted me with. And so how has it changed that I stepped into ministry? The burden and the desire to stay connected to Him is just exponentially increased.
Yeah.
Every day in ministry is different, which I love, but it also means that I cannot predict how the day is going to unfold.
Right.
And I have to spend time with the Lord. Like
Right.
I have to spend time with Him and hear from Him and get filled with the Spirit, because anything can unfold during the day. And if I miss that opportunity to connect with Him beforehand, I find that I'm doing a catch-up prayer in my car on the way to whatever hard conversation I'm about to have, or whatever the case is. And I would rather not have to play catch up. I want to hit the day. I want to be effective and hit the day with the terms of walking with the Holy Spirit.
That's good.
Instead of being affected by the day. So
Yeah.
that's the biggest way that it's changed for me.
And when you say like nothing pulling you away from hearing God, that's not just sin, as we've talked about, but that's also distractions, busyness, commitments.
Tyranny of
Like,
the urgent.
Yeah, so many other things can also, because people might hear that and think, oh, okay, I just won't be living like a heathen. But you mean even in like the good things,
Yeah.
the seemingly harmless things, they can all be opportunities to pull you away from the Lord if they're not submitted to the Lord. So my last question for both of you as you wrap up this podcast, which I love, Jonathan, sharing your story and your journey with us. But as you're hearing God for this current moment in your life, what are you hearing God for in your leadership at this campus, for this gathering and expression of High Ridge Church? What are you hearing Him stirred up by in your faith that the Lord's going to do in this community coming up, or maybe even happening now?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's a really big question. How much more time do we have?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. What I see is a restoration of revival. And what I mean by that is there's a hunger in the generations around my generation, that, and ours included, that want authentic relationship with the Lord, and tired of going through the motions and tired of a vague relationship. They want something that's real. And I think we're seeing that now, especially because of what social media has done, is created such a faux reality. People are tired of it, and seeing how it's led to mental health issues, led to debauchery and the degradation of our culture. There's a lot of people that are starting to recognize it for what it is, and they want the real things of the Lord. And that excites me, because now I see families that want to raise their kids in the ways of the Lord, and they want to do it with an authentic, real relationship that's not so tied into religion that it's dead.
Yeah.
Although there are religious things that are good in practice because it keeps you in a good pattern, but it's mostly relationship driven.
Yeah.
And so what I see, especially for this campus, are young families that desire the things of the Lord, that want to raise their kids in the ways of the Lord in a way that honors them, but also grows them together as a family, and it makes a difference for what's around them. Because the world is so broken. We need strong families. We need the strong unit, which is why I think the enemy is out to attack the family unit. Because if he can get to the father, if he can get to the leader of the household and crack him, he can crack the family and he can crack the church. And so it's a trickle-down effect that starts from the top. But I'm excited because we're seeing growth in the young family space. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, having almost 40 kids dedicated to the Lord is
awesome.
So awesome.
Yep.
That's
And
fun.
we're seeing so many young couples and young families that are coming to church now, which is just makes me so excited. So I'm really excited that we're having the expansion getting going, because man, it's going to create, I think this campus is going to be a lot of young families coming together and raising their kids together in the ways of the Lord, which is great. And it's all about your community.
Absolutely.
And if your community is set on pursuing the Lord and hearing the Lord, you're gonna hear that by osmosis. So
Yeah. And I'll turn that question to you, PJ, as we close. What are you hearing God for the family of churches in High Ridge as our expression and as he's moving us forward?
Well, that we keep, we are healthy. So another Easter just passed, and all 6 locations were honored the Lord, were effective. We did what God told us to do, and there was increase from the year before. So all are on growth, all are healthy, all are on mission. What we're committed to, the factors that we have that define us are working. People are understanding how fun it is to encourage each other instead of discourage each other, to be generous instead of stingy, to be a worshiper instead of a statue standing in the room. So many of these things are being in community, the importance of two walking together, 3-strand cords not easily broken. All of those concepts are catching on. And, when you asked Jonathan that question a second ago, what came to my mind was when we started here a number of years ago, we bought this property, and this was nothing. There was just this neighborhood right here, but not a neighborhood down there, not down there, not over there, not back there. And I'm pointing all the directions
field of cows.
for those that are listening and not watching, pointing all the directions, just nothing.
yeah.
And so, I wrestled with going outside the loop, out away to start a church and build a building. And I remember a guy in church life one time when I asked him why he drove so far to come to church, because they were driving past 100 churches probably to come to our church. And I said, why are you doing that? There's so many churches along the way. And with his Texas twang, he goes, Pastor Jeff, if the church is alive, it's worth the drive. So that told me, okay, thank you, Lord. I heard the Lord in that moment. Go ahead and go for it. Do it. God's going to bring the people. And now, here we are, however many years later, all the neighborhoods are filled up around us. This whole region is filling up. I just saw that by 2050, by 2050, the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is going to be the largest municipal area in the United States. So when I was pioneering, there weren't people here. They had to come from away to come here, and they did. Now we're here, and God's bringing the world to us. Every skin color, every religious background, he's bringing them to us so that we don't have to go around the world, even though we do, to evangelize and be missional. He's allowing it to happen right here with us.
Yeah.
So that excites me. All are healthy, all are strong. The relationships between all the campuses are good. There are 2 campuses needing to either expand their facility or to get a facility, and I've heard from other 2 locations. There's just 2 campuses here in the Metroplex, all the rest of the locations. And I've heard one of the locations talking and praying about an offering for another location to help them get their building. And so that excites me. The vision is caught. 9,000 of us, I think, in High Ridge worshiping together on Easter. And so that helps me and excites me that many people across that many places love the Lord, love each other, love the vision, and are for each other. There's that. And it's only going to grow. I got a prophetic word just a month ago that there are going to be 3 new births this year. Now, when the brother was giving me the word, he said, I just don't know if it's 3 Klingenberg family births, if it's 3 births in the church, which for here, that's easy. Well, how many births are we doing a year at the Fort Worth campus?
Like 15?
30?
30.
Yeah, a bunch anyway.
Yeah.
Or he said, but it might be church births. I just don't know. The Lord just told me to tell you 3 new births this year. And so anyway, what do I see? What am I hoping for? Just us keep doing what we're doing because God's blessing it. Not that we're all that, not that we got it all together. Nobody's famous here. We're just being faithful with what God's assigned us to do, and He's blessing it.
Yep.
Yeah. So good. Well, thank you guys for this conversation, and I think it's going to strengthen people to know another story of faith, to hear God for their life, and to be encouraged by strength yields strength. And so in communities where people are pursuing the Lord and staying strong, that can get off into their life, and that can help them be strong too. And that's what I want to see for higher ed families across all locations and campuses, is just more strength in the Lord and who they are and what God's called them to do in every
Good.
phase, every
Good.
season.
Yeah.
So,
Amen. Let it be so.
Amen.
thank you guys.
Yep.
Thank you. You do a
All right.
good job with this, honey.
Thanks, Dad. You ready?
Yep.
Peace out.
Peace out. Oh, you're too late. Let's try it again. There you are, last again. Never mind. God bless you. We love you.